So we're continuing back in the Mishnayoth, Perik Aleph Shabbat. We're in the middle of Mishnah Dalet. We were going to discuss the 18 halachot that the Beit Shammai was successful in passing through to the Maaseh against the Beit Hillel's yeshiva, because the Beit Shammai's yeshiva were numerous more than the yeshiva of Beit Hillel. So as promised, today we're going to discuss it in R Bartenurah. Probably today is going to take a significant amount of time. All 18 halachot. So here they are. Which are the 18 halachot in the Mishnah? Everybody knows about this 18 halachot. This is a very famous statement in the Mishnah that there is such a concept where Beit Shammai have defeated Beit Hillel. Again, primarily there are 6 halachot where we actually follow Beit Shammai over Beit Hillel, right? In instances out of the whole Shas. However, over here we're going to be enumerating 18, which were at that presently that moment there was psak halacha according to the majority, as we discussed yesterday. So B'ezrat Hashem. So let's see which are the 18. The Elohen says Rabbeinu Bartenurah. Again, I'm reading in the middle of chapter of 1 Mishnah Dalet, starting the enumeration of 18 laws that Beit Shammai have successfully defeated Beit Hillel in. The Elohen. So again, the success over here is not primarily the argument of the Torah. Primarily the argument is that the Beit Shammai's yeshiva had more people than the Beit Hillel. It could be that if it was vice versa, all Torah arguments are great and all arguments are true. As we say, 70 panim, 70 ways to look at different things around the Torah. And there's more than 70. There's actually 42 million different ways. But anyway, just to keep it simple, the Elohen ha'ochel ochel shehu rishon letuma o sheni letuma. Okay, so we have the Elohen ha'ochel ochel shehu rishon. So somebody is eating something that has rishon letuma or sheni letuma. What does that mean? It has the meaning a person who is av, the person who was tameh av, right? Obviously, the person who touched the dead sheretz, right? So now he's becoming av tumah. Av tumah, he is now touching food. The food becomes rishon tumah. So now somebody came and started eating from that food. Or sheni tumah. Or, and for instance, the rishon touched to the sheni, touched another item, which is that became what's the scenario? Tuma in Truma, it takes the shlishi, the Tuma. So what's rishon? Okay, one more time. So he says shehu rishon, haochel shehu rishon letuma או שני לטומאה. גזרו שיהיה נעשה גופו שני לטומאה, ופוסל את התרומה במגעו. So right. So the person eats something that is one l'tumah or two l'tumah, he himself becomes two l'tumah with respect to touching a truma. במגעו ששני פוסל בתרומה, because now the truma becomes third טומאה. הרי אלו שתי גזרות, אוכל ראשון ואוכל שני. So אוכל שני ראשון ואוכל שני. Right. So basically a person who consumes a tuma, he becomes that same tuma that he consumed in order to be mitame even the truma itself. So that's the first gezerah. והשותם משכין טמאין נעשה גם כן שני לטומאה ופוסל לתרומה. Even more than so, this is not eating, this is drinking. Somebody who consumes drinking items that are tuma also, he becomes second to tuma, and again he could posel the truma. He could disqualify truma from being the truma could become also shlishi letuma. Harei shalosh. So that becomes shlishi. V'tameh de gazor behane. The tuma that we're talking about, that they're making all this gzeror against, all the decrees, דזמנין דאכיל אוכלין טמאין ושדי משכין דתרומה בפומאי, בעוד שהאוכלים טמאים בפיו ופוסל להו. Sometimes a person would be eating something that's tameh sheni and drinking truma. So what happens that now he has the actual food touching the drinking the drink, which is truma, and now it also makes it pasul, makes it disqualified. Zamnin the shtei mashkin tmeim be'odan befiv shadi ochalin the truma befiv pasul lehu. So it could be sometimes he's drinking mashke, a drink that is tameh, and while he's drinking, he has the drips of the water, the liquid that's still tameh, puts in the food, the truma, that could also become, obviously we're talking about the coin over here, the truma, that he is allowed to eat the truma, nobody else. V'gazru, so that's what, number 2. V'gazru, number 3, al haba rosho verubo, לאחר שטבל מטומאתו בו ביום במים שאובים. So they also made a decree that somebody who went to mikveh, right, and after the mikveh, his head and most of his body touched the regular water, like a bathtub or a shower. So now, מים שאובים, those are not the mikveh waters. ועל טהור גמור שנפלו על ראשו 3 לוגין מים שאובים, and even if a person who just came out of mikveh and he had about 1,000 grams of liquid, that is water that's from urn, spilled on him, הרי 5 גזירות, so there was 5 גזירות already. וטימה ותמיד דגזור, so 1 second, so what is it? והטהור גמור שנפלו על ראשו 3 לוגין מים שאובים. Okay, so again, so we said the first 3, something with dealing with the eating of the consumption of tumah, and now על הבא ראשו ורובו לאחר שטבל מטומאתו בו ביום משכין. Okay, so the rabbi says over here, this is already the 5th calculation. ותמה דגזור תמה על הני לטמא אדם, לפי שהיו טובלים במי מערות סרוכין והיו נוטלין עליהם אחר כך מים שאובים להעביר את סירחון המים. So what happened was, there was a big problem. People used to go to dirty, muddy waters. They would be toible there. They would, toible there. They would dip in there, and then after that, they would have clean water spilled on them. So what happened? The rabbi saw a big problem after that. What happened? התחילו ועשאום קבע לומר לא מהמערות מטהרין אלא המים שאובים מטהרין. So then people made a mistake. They were somehow misled to understanding that the water that's spilled on them after the mikvah, that's what makes them mitaher, and therefore the rabbis made a decree not to amdu v'gazru. The rabbis got up and right away made a decree. Tuma'a dilma ato lebitule torat mikvah v'tavle b'shovim. So they said, no, anybody who gets water spilled on him after the mikveh, the real mikveh, if he gets water spilled on him from the bucket or from whatever, that will make him a tameh instantly. And in order to stop this whole process, this idea that chas v'shalom, that the spilling water on your head makes you pure, that was in order to stop that, the Chachamim instituted a decree to make sure that it stops in the tracks. They made a decree that's saying even if you spilled more than three logs, which each log is 342 milligrams, so 342 times 3 is going to be 1,026 grams of water spilled on your head after mikvah. That will make you unfit anymore, and they have to make you impure again. והגזירה השישית, what was the 6th גזירה? שיהיו הספרים של כתבי הקודש, הסופרים של כתבי הקודש, פוסלים את התרומה במגע. שהיו הספרים. So what happened was that בתחילה היו מצניעים אוכלים לתרומה אצל ספר תורה. What happened was like this. There was a big danger of termites or mice consuming Sefer Torah, people by mistake will be putting food that's truma inside, but together with the Sefer Torah, and therefore that would summon the mice to come to eat the food. By mistake, they would be munching on the Sefer Torah and destroying them. So the rabbis have a decree. They said anyone who touches the cloth of the Torah becomes tameh, in order to to prevent people from putting truma there, because now they would say they put truma there, truma becomes tameh. This way, it stops the spread of this horrible idea. Amri high kodesh, high kodesh. People would say truma is kodesh, sefer Torah kivan the achazu the kaatu sefarim lidei pseida. So the rabbi saw that the Sefer Kodesh were being destroyed because of the mice. והעכברים המצויים אצל האוכלים היו מפסידים את הספרים. Those that want to eat the food will destroy the ספרים. גזרו שיהיו הספרים, דהיינו תורה, נביאים וכתובים. They tell you that anybody writes down on the sefer, which sefer? The holy, on the parchment, דהיינו Torah, Nevi'im, or Ketuvim, that's written on the parchment. The Magan poslin et teruma. They made a decree that anyone who touches truma with the Sefer Torah or anything that's alike would become tameh, and this way they would prevent people from actually continuing this process of bringing food into Aron HaKodesh or wherever. The Agzera Ashvi'it. What was the seventh rule that they passed? Gazru al stam yadayim sheposulot et teruma. If a person did not be careful with his hands, and he did not wash his hands before he handled truma, now that he touched the truma became pasul immediately. מפני שהידיים הסקניות הן ונוגעות בבשרו במקום שהתינופת ונגדה לתרומה עם יגע בידיים מזוהמות והיא נמסת על האוכליה. So the hands, because they are traveling, because people itch themselves all the time anywhere, they don't even pay attention. So in that case, because if a person didn't pay attention that if his hands are clean, or he didn't perform the neckel wash or washing, now he touched the truma. When we talk about regular Israel, when he separates truma from his lofty property, now the truma is immediately tameh because he touched with his hands. Why? Because that's the gzirah. The gzirah is if you're not careful with your hand, you don't know where they are. Therefore, the truma is going to be pasul because we're dealing with the serious consequences. Okay. הגזירה השמינית, האוכלים, האוכלים שנטמעו במשכין, שאותן המשכין נטמעו מחמת ידיים שנהגו בה מקודם נטילה, גזרו על המשכין שיטמעו את האוכלים, שכל הדברים הפוסלים את התרומה מטמאים את המשכין. So they also made a decree that any liquid that להיות תחילה, any liquid that disqualifies, that makes up impure the food, the האוכלים שנטמעו במשכין, that become the foods that become impure through liquid, שאותן המשכין נטמעו מחמת ידיים שנגעו בהם קודם נטילה. Which water? The waters that were defiled by a person's hand. Before he washed his hand, he touched the water directly. Gazru al hamashkin sheitamu et haochalim. Therefore, the Rabbi said, now that all the liquids will make the food disqualified, they will become tameh. Shekol hadavarim hapostin et hatruma mitamin et hamashkin lehiyot chila. So anything that will disqualify a truma with impurity, so therefore that will purify all the liquids. Gzera mishum mashkin habaim mechamat sheretz. Even the gzera was established, even when the liquids come from, I guess, from the lizards. The ashkachan bahen she'en rishonim midoraita, because we know that the dead species of a lizard is rishon, right? The ashkachan bahen she'en rishonim the midoraita, והי דגזור בכל תומות ומשכין להיות תחילה, ולא גזור נמי באוכלין, גזירה, משום משכין אוכלין, הבאים מחמת שרץ. היינו תומה דאמר ריבונן במשכין, משום דלעולם לקבל תומה, שאין צריכים תיקון הכשל ההוויין, לידי קבלת תומה כמו שהאוכלין, שצריכים נתינת המים להכשירן, לקבל תומה. So that was the decree. The decree was that all the liquids, except for 8 liquids, honey and milk and blood and a few other liquids that don't trust, those things don't pass on the tumah. All the other mashkin will pass on the tumah, and that's the gzirah. As we know that if the fruits are wet and the person who did not wash his hands touches them, the fruit becomes also tameh. So again, that's the gzirah number 9. Gzirah, no, that was gzirah 8. Sorry. Now gzirah number 9. כלים שנטמעו מהמשכין בשרץ, אף על פי שהם ראשון לטומאה דאורייתא, אין יכולים לטמא אדם וכלים, שאין אדם וכלים מקבלים טומאה אלא מאב הטומאה. So now, that what happens, כלים נטמעו במשכין, so you had utensils that became tameh, that there was a dead lizard in a cup of water, and you took that cup of water, which is now tameh, and you spilled it onto the dishes. Shem rishon letumah. So now, even though they are now considered to be rishon, because the lizard was inside the water is rishon. The water touches now the utensils. Now the utensils become rishon letumah d'oraita. En yocholim letamah adam. They cannot make an adam or other dishes tameh. She'en adam vekelim mekablim tumah ela me'av tumah. Because in reality, no human being or utensil could become tameh unless they touch real av tumah. Velo memashkin shenitmeu b'sheretz. And now with liquids that was a dead lizard in them, she'em rishonim, that even though they're considered to be first, the liquid in the with a dead lizard in it. Rabbanan gazor alayhu sheitamu kelim. However, the Rabbanan, that's the right. Rabbanan say that if this dishes, if there was wet water, there was a liquid with a dead lizard in it. Now this water spills on dishes or utensils, they will become tameh. It's exactly why the Rabbi has made such a decree. Mishum mashke de zav v'zava, because of the liquid of zav and zava. Shehen roko u'meimei raglav, because what does zav have? That's liquid. His spit or his number 1. Shehen av tumah, they are the av tumah. Umetamin kelim midoraita, and they make things tameh from the Torah. And the 10th gzirah, שיהיו בנות כותים נידות מאריסתן, כלומר מיום שנולדה. So a kuti, those are a certain tribe that joined the Jewish nation out of fear of lions, not because they do not because they do gerut. So the rabbi said, all those girls, all their children will become tameh even from the beginning of their birth. Shitinoket, but yoma mitava benida. So to tell you that their daughters, somebody who sleeps with her, even for one day, will become tameh like a nida. Okay, that's the gzirah. Vekutim leit lehu midrash ze ki v'chi chazyan lo miparashalehu hirka gazor behu rabbanan. Okay, the rabbi said that this certain nation that joined the Jewish nation had a lot of discrepancy. They had a lot of problems, and therefore their gerut was not good, and sleeping with having an intermediate relationship with them will have this outfit. Even though she goes to mikvah, it will be still there's still that tumah v'nidam. והגזירה 11, שיהיו כל המטלטלין מביאים את הטומאה באויבי המרדע, והוא מלמד הבקר, יש הקיפו טפח, אבל אין באביב טפח. אף על פי שמן התורה אין אוכל פחות מטפח, אוהל פחות מטפח, גזרו רבנן על כל המטלטלים שיש בעקיפן טפח, שאם ראשון אחד האוהל על המת, ראשון אחד על הכלים, מביאים להם טומאת אוהל, זרע אטומי שיש באוהב טפח, שמביא את הטומאה מן התורה. Again, something to do with the טומאה, שיהיו כל המטלטלים מביאים את הטומאה באויבי המרדה. No, I don't recall the explanation of this. Yud Aleph, we'll put it aside for now. הגזירה י' ב', הבוצר ענבים לדרכן בגד, somebody who is crushing the wine, the grapes in the designated place, where they were squashing the grapes, המשקה היוצא מהן בשעת בצירה, מכשירים לקבל טומאה. Even the liquid that's coming out of the grapes already befitting to become tameh. ואף על פי שהולך לאיבוד ולא ניחלה. Even so, that was the liquid that he doesn't want. Even if he doesn't want it, still they could become tameh, and obviously could be metameh other things. זרע שמא יבצור בקופות מזופפות, ואז ניחלה במשקה היוצא בעת שהרי אינו הולך לאיבוד ומכשיר מן התורה. So again, so that there's a formation of different types of, I guess, fruits. There will be liquids that a person will eventually keep. So in order to have all this, not to have this problem, the Rabbanan said all the liquids are befitting to become tameh, and therefore to be extremely careful with them not to be mitameh. Hagzirah 13, shiyu, the 13th decree, shiyu gedolei truma, so that anything that grows from the truma should become also truma. Meaning the person took the grain that's truma and sprouted it, and now they grow, or the new wheat, all those wheat also become truma. ואפילו בדבר שזרעו קלה, כגון תבואה וקטנין, זרע משום תרומת טמאה ביד כהן, שאסורו באכילה ובא לזרעה. So again, they don't want a kohen who has in his hands the grains that are tameh, that he should not be planting them. So the rabbi said all the planted from the truma should become truma, so that becomes this problem. שיהיה בשמה הראשון והרי היא תרומה טמאה. And that's what happens is, if the Kohen has a truma, that's the seeds that are truma, and they're tameh, we're telling him that whatever he grows will become tameh. Okay? There's a big machloket about that in Gemara. השם נשלים משאי לעצמן זריעה ועתי למיכל בטומאה. And even though it doesn't, yes, the right that there's no problem. The grains that are planted, even the truma, whatever they grow will not be tameh, because it's a grain and now it's a new produce. Whatever was tameh, it's already dead. Now this is a new production. So why the gzera? The main purpose of this gzera is that Rabbanan were afraid that you might come to it in the interim while you were waiting to plant it. So that's the bigger problem. So that was the Gzera number 13. Number 14, Misha Yachshich lo baderech noten kisor enochri. So now somebody is walking Friday Eve and it became dark. So if he has a goy walking with him, the Gzera was to give to the goy the wallet. V'lo yitatereno pachot mipachot me'arba amot. Technically speaking, on Shabbat, if you walk less than 4 amot, you can less than 4 amot, it's not considered to be to Shabbat. Yeah.
I just want to tell you that I didn't sleep last night. I came to Shabbat anyway.
No,
okay. I was dead.
I thought something was important, Habibi. Don't worry about it.
Already. If you have
I don't judge.
Then call me. Otherwise.
Tonight, you're saying. Okay, I hear you. Thank you. Agzera 15 and 16. and Polin and Corin Leor Aner Detnan Memanitin. The ones that we learned, the 14, the 15, and 16, that was the taking out the lights from the clothing, or to what's his name? And Corin Leor Aner, reading to the light of the candle. That's the okay. Now 17, Gazru Pitan Shel Goyim. So V'al Sheman Shemen V'al Yain. So on the oils and the wine of the goyin and the bread, V'al Benotehen, and all on their daughters. The Kulu Gzera Chadehi. I don't know what that means on their daughters over here. I guess somebody has a question. What does that mean? That they were afraid, I guess, to eat with them in order to marry, not to marry their daughters, I guess. I don't know. Okay? Kedamrin and Gazru, Al Pitan Mishum Shimnan, V'al Shimnan Mishum Yanam, because it says over there that they made a decree on their bread because of their oil, the oil decreed because of their wine, and the wine because of their daughters. And we're afraid that, I guess, touching their daughters or something, you will become intimate with them. Therefore, that will be asur. Right? Not davar acher doesn't mean intimate. It means actually avodah zarah. So if you're playing around with the goyish girl, in the end you will be doing avodah zarah. V'agzera hayudchet. What's the 18th gzera? Gazru al tinok goy שיהיה מטמא בזיווה, כדי שלא יהיה תינוק ישראל רגיל אצלו במשכב זכור. Also, the decree was that a boy of a goyim, that our boys should not play with them, because I guess there's too much frivolity with that in them, when they're in action, and therefore the rabbi said that chas v'shalom, our boys should be staying away from playing with the goyim boys as well, because of they're busy between boys and boys constantly. As we know, unfortunately today, that's how a boy in an Arab country becomes a man. At 8 years old, he gets raped by another man. Shem Arachem, and we should stay away from such things. Hashem should protect the Jewish nation. B'mochel, all our sins that we have, Hashem should be forgiving us and bringing us back to Eretz HaKodesh, taking us back on His own, not we forcing the deed, but Hashem should see that we are really somebody. Baruch Hashem. Somebody asked me, so how do we go back to Eretz Yisrael? It's by hopefully stop hurting each other. Stop hurting each other. That's the ikar. The ikar is that if we are thrown out of Eretz Yisrael, sinat chinam, so how do we bring about stop hurting each other? It's very hard. It's impossible. We're trying already for the past 1,955 years. And hopefully this is the last year, because we're going to start praying, everybody. The prayer is, may it be your will, Hashem Almighty, that I shall never witness a human hurt another human being. We're davening to Hashem. Hashem, please make sure that I don't hurt another Jew in any way, or I don't see a Jew being hurt in any way. So if I don't see, that means that I want to hurt them myself. And that's why we're going to brainwash ourselves from stop hurting other people. So one day, and there's Hashem, Mashiach, and we will not have any all this dealings with the goyim, having our children play with the goyim, and that's a big serious problem. B'ezrat Hashem, taslichu b'chol ma'aseh. B'ezrat Hashem. Let's see this thing.